After 4 years of silence, my father invited me for a beer to ask for a kidney. I agreed, but only if he broke up with my ex. You won't believe how he decided to manipulate me. Before we start, I need you to read this all the way through, because what began as a quiet beer after 4 years of silence turned into something I never saw coming. By the end, I was forced to make the hardest, cruelest decision of my life, and I don't regret a second of it. I hadn't spoken to my dad in 4 years. Not a birthday call, not a Merry Christmas, not a single "How you holding up?" after my divorce, or when I got laid off, or when I had surgery last spring and couldn't even get out of bed without help. Nothing. Just silence. Like I'd evaporated. So imagine my face when I get a text from him out of nowhere. "Want to grab a beer? Got something I want to run by you." At first, I laughed. Out loud. Like actual sitcom laughter. I even showed it to my roommate and said, "This man either wants to tell me he's dying or ask for money." I was wrong on both counts. We met at this dive bar near my place. The kind with sticky floors and TVs that only play baseball reruns. He was already there when I walked in, nursing a Bud Light like nothing had happened, like we'd just seen each other last week. He smiled, and stood up for a hug. I didn't move. "What do you want, Dad?" He sat back down and gave this little awkward chuckle. "I deserve that," he said. "But seriously, I've missed you." I ordered a whiskey. Neat. He made small talk for a bit. Too much small talk. Asking about work, my apartment, if I was still doing freelance graphic design, like he hadn't blocked me on Facebook 3 years ago after I posted a thread about being the family scapegoat. I was 2 sips in when I cut him off. "Dad, why am I here?" He looked down at his hands like a kid caught stealing. Then he sighed, dramatic as hell, and said, "I need a kidney." I swear to God I laughed so hard I almost choked. Thought he was joking. Thought this was some weird boomer dad attempt at a guilt trip joke. But no. He was serious. Full-on serious. Pulled out paperwork and everything. Some scribbled-on letter from a nephrologist. Even a damn compatibility chart. And here's the part that makes this whole thing go from sad to straight-up psychotic. He didn't come alone. Sitting in the back of the bar, halfway hidden in one of the booths, was Monica. My ex, the girl who dumped me 3 years ago and started dating. Guess who? My dad. I hadn't seen her since the day she moved her stuff out of our apartment and then posted an Instagram story from my parents' backyard. They weren't hiding anymore. She stood up and came over to the table like she belonged there. Like this was some reunion, and not a psychological horror movie written by a drunk raccoon. And she had the audacity to hug me. "Hey," she said, like we were old friends. "It's been a while." I just stared. Couldn't speak. My dad cleared his throat. "I know this is awkward, but we really need your help." And I swear, in that moment, everything in me went still. Like my body was waiting for my soul to catch up. Because he didn't say, "I need your help." He said "we," as in the woman who slept in my bed and now shares his. I smiled. Big, wide, the kind of smile you make when you realize you're about to flip the entire game board. "Sure," I said. "I'll do it." He blinked. "You'll donate?" "On one condition," I said, leaning back in my chair, savoring every syllable. "You break up with her. Forever." He laughed, like it was a joke. Monica did that tight-lipped smile thing narcissists do when they're scared and don't want to show it. But I wasn't joking. I was dead serious. And I think that's when it hit him. He wasn't in control anymore. He needed something from me, and I wasn't going to make it easy. He didn't answer right away, just kind of sat there, blinking, like I'd spoken in a different language. Monica was the first to break the silence. Of course she was. She leaned in, arms crossed, trying to look composed, but her jaw was clenched so tight it could have cracked glass. "That's not fair," she said. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't know fair." I looked at her and tilted my head. "No? Sleeping with your boyfriend's father behind his back, then showing up at a bar 3 years later to ask for his kidney? That's fair?" She didn't respond, just looked down at her manicured hands and pressed her lips together. My dad finally found his voice. "She's not the reason we drifted apart, son." "No," I said. "You are." He sighed. That tired dad sigh that used to come out every time I said something he didn't want to hear. I used to think it was disappointment. Now I know it was just boredom. He was tired of pretending to care. "Monica makes me happy," he said, "and I'm not apologizing for that." God, the way he said it. Like she was some divine gift bestowed upon him, like I was being immature for not clapping for the happy couple. "Well," I said, "I hope she makes you feel super happy in dialysis." His face dropped. Here's the thing about my dad. He's always been able to guilt people into giving him what he wants. He's charming, I'll give him that. The kind of guy who can talk a speeding ticket down to a warning, or convince your landlord that the leaky sink is actually your fault. But he'd never had to work that charm on me, because I was always the kid who caved, the fixer, the helper, the peacekeeper. Not anymore. "I'm not doing this," I told him. "Not while you're still together. You want my kidney? Fine. But you give up Monica. Today. You call it off, you mean it, and you don't go back." He looked at her. She looked at him. I could see the little flash of panic in her eyes, but she didn't say anything. That's when I realized she thought she could spin this. Thought if she stayed quiet long enough, he'd talk me into folding. But I wasn't folding. Not this time. If you think I'm bluffing, I added, I'll sign a damn affidavit right now saying you can never have it. Not a piece, not a cell. I will tattoo "Do Not Harvest" across my ribcage. Try me. My dad leaned back, rubbed his temples like this was all so inconvenient for him, like his bad choices had somehow turned into my drama. We'll think about it, he said eventually. Number. You'll decide, I shot back. I'm not playing chicken with my own kidney. We sat there a minute longer, nobody talking. Then I stood up, threw down a 20 for my drink, and walked out. I didn't look back. On the way home, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. I'd never said no to him like that. Never set a condition. And part of me half expected the sky to fall or for him to come storming after me. He didn't. I got home, shut the door behind me, and sat on the floor for a while, just breathing. I don't know what their next move is, but for the first time in a long time, mine felt pretty damn good. 3 days. That's how long it took before I heard from him again. No text, no call, just a knock on my door at 9:17 p.m., loud enough to rattle my blinds. I half expected to open it and find Monica there with some manipulative speech about second chances and being adults. But nope, it was just him. My dad, alone, wearing the same jacket he always wore when he needed something, a faded brown one with fraying sleeves and a broken zipper. He looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe I just looked at him differently now. Can I come in? He asked. I stood there for a beat, thought about saying no, thought about letting him stew in it, but curiosity won out. 5 minutes, I said, stepping aside. He walked in, looked around like he hadn't seen my place before, because he hadn't. Not once in 4 years. Not when I moved in. Not when I got out of the hospital. Not when I begged him to come to therapy with me. Back when I still thought we could fix this. He sat down at the kitchen table and folded his hands like a goddamn therapist about to deliver bad news. I ended it, he said. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. With Monica? He nodded. It's over. Just like that? He looked up at me. Just like that. I didn't believe him. Not entirely, but something in his face, some flicker of real pain, made me pause. He looked like someone who'd lost something, or was trying very hard to pretend he hadn't. She's not happy, he added. Like that was supposed to make me feel better. She says I'm being manipulated, that you're punishing me. I gave a small, humorless laugh. She's not wrong. He didn't smile, just said, I don't want to die, son. There it was, the truth. Not wrapped in guilt, not laced with excuses, just raw, scared truth. I didn't say anything. I just watched him sit there and tremble a little, the mask starting to slip. I'm not asking to be your father again, he said. I want to live. I'll do what it takes. I wanted to believe him. God, part of me needed to, but another part of me, the one that remembered every birthday missed, every lie he'd told, every cold shoulder he gave while Monica was still just a family friend, that part wasn't ready to forgive. You're going to a doctor, I said. You're going to get a second opinion. And until then, you don't get to talk to me about kidneys. He nodded, too fast, like he was relieved just to have a maybe. And if I find out you're still seeing her, I added, it's done, for real. I know, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I swear. He left after that. Didn't even ask for a hug. Just walked out with that same slouched posture I used to think meant he was tired. Now I knew it just meant defeated. I watched him go from the window, and then my phone buzzed. It was a screenshot from Monica. His phone, her hand, the message. He's lying. Update 1. Okay, so y'all really came out swinging on my last post. I didn't expect that. I honestly thought maybe a handful of people would read it and tell me I was being dramatic. But the comments, the DMS, the ones saying, burn it down, and your dad's got a PhD in manipulation? Wild. Also deeply validating. Anyway, let's talk about that screenshot. It hit my phone like a grenade. Monica had sent it from a number I didn't recognize. No, hey, or I'm sorry, or even a dumb emoji. Just, he's lying. Attached, a picture of his texts from earlier that day. Her hand in the shot like she wanted me to know it was her. I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes, because there it was. My dad, the same man who sat at my kitchen table swearing he ended it, was still texting her, telling her, I just need him to agree. Give me time. Like I was some puzzle he had to solve. Not a son, not a person, just a walking organ with conditions. I called him, straight up, no warning. He picked up on the second ring, voice all fake concern like, everything okay, son? I didn't waste breath. You said you ended it. Long pause. Then, I did. But, look, she reached out. No, I cut him off. You lied. Again. You sat in my home and fed me bullshit because you thought I'd roll over if you cried hard enough. He tried to spin it. Said he was trying to protect my feelings. That it wasn't that simple. that they just talked about closure. Closure. My ass. Don't call me again, I told him. And don't you dare try to show up here. Then I blocked his number. That should have been the end of it. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Monica didn't stop texting. She sent another message later that night. I didn't know he'd ask you. I told him it was insane. I didn't want it to go this far. Then another, he's getting desperate. He's not well, but you didn't deserve this. I didn't reply, because I couldn't tell if it was guilt or another manipulation play. Maybe both. But the worst part, I started second-guessing myself. Not because I felt bad for him, hell no, but because I realized something darker. This wasn't about me at all. It never was. My dad would lie to save himself. Monica would twist the truth to stay relevant. And I was just the guy stupid enough to believe a clean break was possible. So yeah, I'm not giving him anything, not even a phone call. And if he wants to keep playing games, he should know. I've got moves too. I didn't plan to go nuclear, I swear. I wanted to be done. I wanted to walk away, hands clean, life peaceful. But when someone keeps lighting fires in your backyard, at some point you stop calling the fire department. You build a damn wall and throw the gasoline back. So here's what happened. After blocking my dad, I thought that would be it. But no. 2 days later, I get a text from my cousin Dana. We're not close, but she's always been decent. She asks, "Hey, what's this? I'm hearing about you refusing to help your dad?" I ask her what she means, and she sends me a screenshot of a Facebook post. From Monica, public. It's a wall of text. Classic vague book energy. But the gist was this. Sometimes people you love let you die slowly while calling it boundaries. She didn't name me. Didn't have to. The comments were full of her friends saying things like, "Some people are just selfish and you deserve better." One even said, "He was never a real son anyway." Let that sink in. A woman who dated her boyfriend's dad was now painting me as the villain. Publicly. And my dad? He liked the post. He hit like. That was it. That was the moment the last little string holding me to "maybe they'll come around" snapped. Because here's something I hadn't told anyone yet. Not Reddit. Not even Evelyn, my best friend since college. My dad's kidney issue? He's not on a transplant list. Hasn't even started the process. Why? Because he refused to stop drinking. Doctors told him he needed to be sober for a year minimum, and he lasted 3 months. Then he fell off at some family party. Guess who brought the whiskey? Yeah, Monica. So when he came to me, it wasn't just desperate. It was shortcut desperate. He didn't want to change. He wanted to skip the line. Use me to fix what he'd broken while still doing the same things that broke it. And that's when I remembered something. I still had access to his old email. Years ago, when I was helping set up his taxes and dealing with his tech, he'd made me his backup recovery contact. Never bothered to remove me. Idiot. So I logged in, and I pulled receipts, hospital communications, missed appointments, a notice from a substance abuse counselor he ghosted, even an old message from Monica talking about how we'll find someone else if he says no. I took screenshots of everything. Then I sent it. Not to him. To Monica. Subject line. Since we're doing things publicly now. No message. Just the images. A minute later, she unsent her text to me. Then blocked me. I laughed. But the next morning, my mom called. That's right. The woman who hadn't said more than "let it be" in years called me at 7:42 a.m. in full meltdown mode, screaming, crying, saying I'd embarrassed the family, hurt his job, and that I was ruining what little time he has left. I let her talk, all 5 minutes of it. Then I said one thing. He could have had my kidney. He chose her instead. Then I hung up. Let me rewind for a second. The family party my dad fell off at? That wasn't just a casual BBQ. It was my Uncle Ray's retirement thing. A big deal. The kind of event where the extended family comes crawling out of the woodwork for free food and oldies music. I didn't go. Wasn't invited. Again. But Monica was there. She wasn't just there. She hosted it. Uncle Ray lives in Florida now, but he wanted to throw the party back in our hometown. Guess who offered up their backyard to make it special? Monica and my dad. Her idea. Her turf. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just knew afterward that my dad had broken sobriety and the transplant process stalled out. The timeline was fuzzy. He claimed it was a moment of weakness. But after what happened with the Facebook post, I started connecting dots that never quite lined up before. So I did something petty. I DM'd Uncle Ray's daughter on Instagram. We hadn't talked since my grandma's funeral, but I knew she was always filming everything. She's one of those content-first cousins. If someone sneezes at a party, it's going on her story with a lo-fi beat. Hey, I wrote, random question. Do you have any videos from the retirement party? She sent five short, shaky clips of boomers dancing, folding chairs squeaking, someone yelling about cornhole, and then, clip 4, a shot of Monica by the drinks table, holding a bottle of Jack Daniels, pouring it into his glass, captioned, Monica's old fashions got everyone lit. I watched that video about 100 times. She knew. Everyone knew. My dad's drinking wasn't a secret. Hell, he went to rehab twice. She used to go with him to appointments. She knew exactly what one drink would do, that it wasn't just one, that it would derail everything. And she did it anyway. For a second, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she didn't mean to. Maybe she thought he could handle it. But that clip, her smile, the way she clinked her glass against his, no, that wasn't ignorance. That was intent. So I called her. No warning, no preamble. She answered on the third ring. What the hell do you want? You did it on purpose, I said. The whiskey, the party. You knew he had to stay sober to get the transplant. Silence. Then, you're crazy. Number, I'm not. You wanted him to relapse. You knew if he drank, he'd be disqualified. And if he dies without a transplant, you get everything. She didn't deny it. Didn't say yes. Didn't say no. Just exhaled. A long, slow, calculated breath. Then she said, you think anyone's gonna believe you? I don't care if they do. I hung up. I sat there in the dark for a while, my heart pounding, and all I could think was she was playing chess while we were playing checkers. She found an old man with money, isolated him from his family, and made sure he couldn't save himself even if he wanted to, because dead men don't change their wills, and women like her, they make sure of it. After that call with Monica, something in me snapped. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was done. Like, universe has stopped spinning for you level done. The kind of done where you stop reacting and start calculating. Because if she wanted his money that badly, fine, let her have what's left of him. But she wasn't getting away clean. See, the thing Monica didn't know, what none of them really knew, is that my dad's little side hustle, the one he always bragged about at family parties, the one Monica helped promote on her socials, I built it. Not just the website, the branding, the legal paperwork, the LLC. I was the one who filed it all back in 2018 when he decided he wanted a retirement hobby that made real cash. I even wrote the business plan. The accounts, still tied to my info. I never thought to remove myself. Didn't think I had to. It was family. Stupid, I know. But now, it was leverage. I logged in that night. The site was still broken. Orders were stalled. The email inbox was flooded with customer complaints. And the business account had 2 flagged transactions that hadn't been resolved. And the best part? Monica was trying to run things now. She had changed the Instagram handle to include her name, was responding to people as if she was the brand, playing CEO like a sociopath in heels. It was so cartoonish I almost laughed. So I did what any logical, emotionally torched person would do. I nuked the brand. I issued a formal statement on the site, written in third person like it was from a firm. Something like, as of June 25th, operations are suspended due to internal mismanagement and unresolved legal concerns. Any transactions made through this site after June 1st will be fully refunded. We apologize for the inconvenience. Then I shut the whole thing down, revoked admin access, locked the domain, pulled the plug on every connected account. Every digital trace of the business Monica thought would bankroll her future. Gone. Erased. Vapor. It wasn't about the money, it was about the symbol. This thing she latched onto as her golden ticket, I built it, and I buried it. The fallout was immediate. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, 3 from my dad, 1 from an unknown number, definitely Monica, and the rest from my mom, my brother, and even my aunt. And the cherry on top? My old college roommate messaged me. Dude, did you kill your dad's business? It's trending on that local Facebook group. People are pissed. I didn't respond. That afternoon, my dad showed up at my door. He looked like a man who just realized his house was built on quicksand. His voice was cracked, raw. Why would you do that? He asked. I looked him dead in the eye. Because you let her poison you, and now I'm just cleaning up the mess. He didn't argue, didn't yell, just stood there, like someone had finally turned on the lights. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered. He chose her over me. Again and again. And the final nail? Later that night, I got a message from a former employee of the side hustle. Just one sentence. You're not the first person she's done this to. Update 2. Okay. South wow. Did not expect the last part to blow up the way it did. Some of y'all had me howling in the comments. Special shout out to the person who said, Monica's playing Monopoly while the rest of us are playing Jenga and setting it all on fire. Poetic. Also true. But buckle up, because this is the part where everything comes crashing down. After I shut down the business, Monica went ballistic. I knew she'd freak, but I didn't expect her to get sloppy. She started texting mutuals, trying to do damage control, spinning some story about how I was mentally unstable, vengeful, even dangerous. Classic narcissist smear campaign. Problem is, she texted the wrong person. One of those mutuals? Evelyn. My ride or die since college. The kind of friend who shows up with pizza and a shovel, no questions asked. Monica didn't know we were still close. Thought Evelyn was just some old classmate. And Evelyn? Screenshot queen. She sent me everything, including the message that changed the entire game. It's not my fault if he drank. He wanted to. All I did was make sure the will was up to date before things got messy. I'm not going to apologize for being smart. Let me repeat that. Make sure the will was up to date before things got messy. She wasn't just hoping he'd relapse. She planned for it, like a slow-burn murder plot wrapped in charm and candle scents. I couldn't breathe when I read it. My stomach flipped, my hands went cold, and I swear for a second I saw red. I knew she was calculating. I knew she was dangerous, but I didn't know she was evil. So I did something I hadn't planned on. I called my dad. I didn't scream, I didn't accuse, I just sent him the screenshots. And then I said, "You've got one chance to fix this, or she gets everything." He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, finally, "Come over." So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm about to go face the man who threw me away. The man who begged me for a kidney and thought manipulation was the way to get it. The man who might have finally seen what kind of woman he let destroy our family. And I'm bringing the screenshots. He opened the door like he hadn't been hiding from everything, like the world hadn't cracked between us. He looked old, not just in the gray hair way, in the soul-tired, carried too many lies way. I walked in, holding nothing but my phone. No bag, no apology, just ammo. Monica was already sitting in the living room, legs crossed like a coiled snake pretending to sunbathe. She smiled. "Nice of you to join us." I didn't sit. I stayed standing, towering over them both. I figured since everyone's making things public now, I said, I'd do the same. I held up my phone and started reading, word for word, her message to Evelyn, her little confession. Her face didn't move at first, but her neck turned red, then her ears. I've seen guilt. This wasn't that. This was exposure, like a mask slipping off mid-smile. "I never said that," she muttered. I showed my dad the screen, let him read it for himself. He took the phone like it was hot, stared at it for too long, blinked once, twice, then handed it back without a word. "Tom," she said, voice trembling, "you know I'd never hurt you." "Stop," he said, just one word, but it hit like a slap. "I trusted you," he said, voice cracking. "I believed you loved me." She stood up like she was going to spin it again, walk it back, cry just enough to reset the game, but I beat her to it. I stepped between them and said, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "She wanted you drunk because drunk meant disqualified. Disqualified meant dead. And dead meant she got to cash in and wipe her hands clean." Silence. She stared at me, mouth open like she was about to protest, but she didn't, because it was over. I walked her to the door. Didn't touch her. Didn't need to. She walked out like smoke. When I turned around, my dad was crying. I hadn't seen that since I was 12. Back when Grandma died. Back when he was still human. He sat on the couch, head in his hands, and said, "I'm so sorry. For all of it. For her. For what I said. For not being your father when you needed one." I didn't say anything. Because in that moment, all the hate started to feel like grief. Like I was mourning a version of him I never got. "I want to change," he said, "but not for a kidney. For me. For you." And he did. It's been a year. 12 months since the Monica showdown. 11 months since he checked himself into rehab. 9 months since he started therapy. 6 since he showed up at my apartment, sober, shaking, and asked if we could start over. 2 since the transplant coordinator called me and said, "You're still a match," and he's finally eligible. And 2 weeks ago, I became his donor. I won't romanticize it. I hated him. I resented him for years. I still wake up sometimes remembering the time he said I wasn't really his son. That wound, it doesn't just vanish because someone gets sober. But when I walked into that hospital room after the surgery, sore, tired, emotionally wrung out, and saw him sitting there, holding a cup of water with both hands like it was sacred, he looked at me and whispered, "Thank you for not letting me die the way I lived." And I broke, because maybe the man I hated really was gone, and maybe this new one, this quiet, clean, regretful version, deserves a chance. So yeah, that's the end of it. The woman who tried to carve me out of the family ended up deleted from the will entirely. The father who called me a disappointment ended up surviving because I chose to be better than he ever was to me. And me? I walk a little differently now. Not because of the scar, but because I know what I'm capable of. Mercy, vengeance, forgiveness, all of it. But here's what I keep asking myself, and maybe you can help. If he hadn't needed my kidney, would he have ever truly seen me? Let me know what you think. Would you have done it? Would you have saved him? Or let him drown in the mess he made? Comments are open. Let's talk.